lead me up to the time of you making that decision of or thinking about getting your real estate license.
Yeah. So, after I was at DSW, I was at Fusion, which is a
Mhm.
local, startup.
Yeah.
It's a sushi restaurant. I was the head of marketing for that organization for a few years, and then
So
go
you put
ahead.
it on the map, huh?
I can't take credit for
I'm just
that.
kidding. My
I
wife does,
helped.
but
I was part of a
yeah, yeah, yeah.
team. I was part of a team. Yes, indeed. Um, and once I left there, I kind of went off on my own and was doing some marketing consulting work. I started my own business, and I was doing that for about a year, and it was going well. But I it it gave me the confidence to start my own business, and it was going well. I just didn't love the business development piece of things, which is kind of funny because that's kind of all real estate is. But with marketing consulting, you're kind of chasing the business and you're convincing people that what you do and what is something that they need to
Yeah.
succeed. With real estate, it's kind of like people already are selling or they're already buying, and it's really what you're really selling is yourself, right? Your
Yeah.
expertise, your personality, like so. That type of business development, I just didn't really like, and it was also very isolating. It was a lot of office time at home, and I like people. I like to talk to people. I like to meet people. Um, so that was what I did before, like right before I got into real estate. And real estate was always one of those things that was in the back of my mind, which like who in the world doesn't say that? Like every single person I've ever met is like, I've always thought about getting into real estate. And I'm like, oh, have you? That's great. Uh, but it really was, and I bought my first house in what, like 2015 or something like that. So I feel like that kind of put, it was maybe earlier than that, but kind of put the bug in my ear. Is that the saying?
Yeah.
Whatever, we'll go with it. Um, and I don't know. It just was always something that was appealing to me. And how I kind of describe it to people is, a lot of people are like, well, I love looking at homes. I'm on Zillow every day, and so, it'd be so fun to walk through pieces people's houses every day. I'm sure you hear that a lot too. And that's like the bare minimum of, things that you should be looking at when you're deciding if you want to get into a career in real estate. So I always say it's like, any decision in life that we make, their criteria, right? Their
Yeah.
qualifications, their check boxes.
Yeah.
And so when I really took a step back and looked at what my check boxes were for an ideal career, real estate, it's not perfect. I don't wake up every morning and I'm like, oh, I get to sell real estate. Sometimes I do. It is great. But I am passionate about it because it checks most of my boxes in terms of a career, and some of those boxes are flexibility, entrepreneurship, kind of being in charge of my own destiny, and
Yeah.
unlimited earning potential. um, all of those things that I kind of learned earlier in my career when I was in corporate and I was in the startup world and I was in advertising. You learn the things that you like and the things that you don't like, and the things that you don't like are oftentimes more important than the things you like. So
Yeah.
um, it just got to a point where I was like, this is something that I feel like would really, suit um, my skill set, both from like just a personality perspective, but also just from with my background and
Yeah.
what I want my career to look like.
I mean, you're spot on as far as checking the boxes. I always tell agents because we work with a lot of, new agents getting into the business, and
Hmm.
that's one of my passions and missions, in my life is to help,
Hmm.
people that are newly licensed. But, it's not make the most money. It's like what lifestyle, what quality of life do you want to live?
Hmm.
And this is one of the industries as a entrepreneur, business owner, whatever you want to call it, that can provide that for you. Like
Yeah.
going out and chasing the most money possible, that's great,
Yeah.
and you can definitely do it. But sometimes your quality of life may suffer, or you may not have the flexibility that you initially wanted, or whatever
Yeah.
the
Let's
case
talk
might
about
be.
Let's talk about that.
And
Yeah, that's
we'll
great.
definitely get to it. But I wanted to kind of go back to Fusion and working for kind of the startup. What
Mhm.
was some of the um, maybe marketing pieces? Because I think you can take. I always look outside of real estate as ways to grow one's business, right? Like I can look
Mhm.
at different businesses and be able to take what they're doing, turn it around, and twist it into real estate. Going back to that time and really having a local startup, what were
Mhm.
some of the things that you were focusing on to get brand awareness out there? Because as agents, we're our own individual brand, right? So,
Yep.
was there any strategies or things that you guys were using at that time to really get the
Yeah.
word out?
Yeah, I mean, every business is completely different, but at the end of the day, marketing, I always say they're levers, right? They're maybe 50 years ago there were 50 levers that you could pull. It was, I'm going to do a mailer and I'm going to, I don't know, whatever they did
Yeah,
50 years
yeah,
ago
yeah,
to advertise, newspaper ads. Now there are like 500 million different levers you can pull. But I mean, I think just boiling it down, every business has its own levers, and so the restaurant industry is very different than the retail industry, but at the same time, it really comes down to brand awareness. Um, People
yeah,
need to know who you are if they're gonna work with you. But I also think just like I think cross-channel awareness is really important. People think that they can do one thing. They're gonna do a bus bench, and they're gonna get some business from it. And that's one thing I feel like a lot of people don't understand about advertising and marketing is that it's not even when I was in the corporate world, that was always the struggle between marketing and finance, or even the CEO. If the CEO didn't understand branding and marketing, the CMO was always having a hell of a time trying to figure out, how do I convince this person that the stuff that we're doing that isn't super tangible in terms of results is important.
yeah,
Um, so I think that that's important to recognize. I said bus benches, which is always kind of a funny thing. I want to do it just like to say that I did it because I think it's funny. But at the same time, too, it's like when you talk about the cross channel stuff, if you're doing a lot of stuff on social media, you're talking to the audience that already knows you. But how are you going to
mhm,
get in front of the audience that doesn't? When we were opening new restaurants with Fusion, in Cincinnati, for example, they already had 2 or 3 restaurants there, and we were opening another one in a new location in Cincinnati. And the conversation was, how much marketing do we put into this opening? And I said, well, we treat it like any other opening. We treat it like nobody knows who we are. And, other people were like, no, people there already know who we are. We have 3 restaurants there. And it didn't turn out well because we
yeah,
didn't treat it like it was a new restaurant.
yeah,
So, I think you have to balance when it comes to marketing, there's customer acquisition and there's customer retention. And I think it's important to really focus and make sure that you're hitting both of those buckets, because a lot of times people just focus on one. Social media, to me, I mean, it can definitely be customer acquisition depending on how you're doing it, but for me, at least right now, it's more of a retention thing.
yeah, yeah.
It's the people that are already in my sphere, in my network. It's me, reminding them who I am and what I do and why I'm the best at it. So,
Yeah, it's one of those things like it all works, right? That's why I love having
mhm,
different agents on this podcast and we talk about this type of thing is because um uh, not everyone's doing it the same. Park benches work. Like if you're specifically targeting downtown type homes,
mhm,
right? And you're showing up
mhm.
on listings and that's where your clientele is, a park bench makes sense because you have to be everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Now, if
And
you're
that's the thing,
focused and
it doesn't work in isolation, is the
right,
thing.
right.
If you pay for leads on Zillow and somebody clicks on Zillow and they've even subconsciously seen your bus bench and seen, their friend working with you, and you hit them in multiple areas, then all of a sudden, that bus bench is a lot more valuable.
100%.